episode 1. Congratulations to us and our
Yes.
special guest today. I'm here with my wonderful wife, my co-host. That would be the Curly Vegan here on Instagram.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, we gonna have to. Both of us gonna have to work on speaking up a little more.
Oh, you can't hear me?
So these
Oh,
mics,
I
we
can
gotta
talk
make sure the
louder.
mics can hear us. Oh yeah, we know.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Hello,
know.
everyone.
Oh, yeah,
There we go.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Then we have our special guest today, Mrs. Erica Sanders,
Hello.
and this is her son, Caleb,
Hi, how you doing?
which just so happens to be a coworker of mine.
Small
And,
world.
yeah, it's a very small world. We are basically very ecstatic that you guys are joining us today for our initial broadcast of Tequila and Tofu. I'm trying to turn this camera around. I need to quit focusing on that though. But what we're doing here, we are celebrating plant-based living and trying to share that with as many people as we possibly can. We also are backed by our website and our company, redblackandvegan.com, and that's our sponsor right now for anyone who's watching. What we are specializing in is really trying to be the basis for the plant-based minority community, especially here in St. Louis, and then bridging out worldwide as much as we can, just to get people to understand the joys of plant-based living. I've only been plant-based myself for just about almost 9 months. My lovely wife, she's been plant-based for 10 years. When I met your mom, it was by chance. It was at one of our local restaurants here, Terra Tacos, and she was very confused about what she wanted to order. And she had stepped out. She was in front of me. It's like 2 people in front of me, and she had stepped outside. And I had already ordered my food, and when I got my order, she was outside looking over the menu. So I was like, get the nachos. And I was trying to go back to and just go to the car because I'm like my wife. She really loved the nachos. 'Cause they
Nachos are
nachos are really
delicious.
good. So and first thing she said was,
Yeah.
"Are they really spicy in it?" And we got into a conversation, and that's when I told her about the website, and she was like, "Oh, well, somebody told me about that. I should follow y'all," and that's just where everything started. And then she agreed to be on the show. So here she is today, Mrs. Erica Sanders.
Welcome.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
I need to
much.
find the applause
I
button.
did need to add something to your introduction. So, why do we call the show Tequila and Tofu?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It is plant-based living, but also, I'm not a prude when it comes to having a good time. So, you can enjoy, a cocktail in moderation, responsibly. So that's why I want to put a spin on it, because most time when you think about healthy living, of course, drinking liquor is not associated with it. So it's okay to let your hair down every once in a while and have a good cocktail. And I love tequila.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, she's going to be sharing a drink of the week per se. Today we're going to be a little less structured than we normally would be, but she's going to be sharing a recipe for a nice drink and another recipe for a plant-based meal later on at the end of our show.
Ooh,
So, but if we can get into our guest for today,
okay.
Mrs. Sanders, how you doing?
Hi. Thank you so much, first of all, for allowing me to come. Thank you for us being like your first guest. That's super huge. I didn't even know. I'm glad you didn't tell me, because then my level of nervousness would have amplified. So now that I know, though, I'm just like really, really geeked, and I'm super excited about this. So I thank you all, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I'm
Thank you
very
so
eager
much.
to like tell people. I was like, I wish I could like text and say like, tune in.
Yes.
Oh, you can.
Yes,
we
you
don't
sure
have any
can.
problem with that.
Did you say, okay, Jordan, to like listen right now or watch right now?
Yes.
No, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna be on
Now,
for a minute, so you
Okay.
can do that.
My first question to you would be, now, are you from St. Louis?
I am born and raised.
What part of St. Louis?
So I originate from like my mom always said, well, technically, because my mom was a teacher, technically it's Northwest. And then I spent most of my time like kind of like that West side. So early on, we lived on a street called Kenneth. And then we were on Northland Place for most of my life. So I lived off of Kings Highway. I went to school over there, and my grandmother lived down in Wellston off of Martin Luther King on Belt.
Okay.
Now, what is that? Friendly Temple owns all of that. When I go by, I don't even get to
People
see
are
my
gonna
grandmother's
ask.
house no more.
People are gonna ask, what school did you go to?
Yes. So, funny stories there. I went to Catholic schools as for elementary school. I went to Bishop Healy, and before that, I went to DePore's. Both schools I don't think exist anymore. And then for high school, I won't say the whole name. I went to a magnet school that was downtown, and it no longer exists anymore. It merged with International Institute. I mean, the International Studies School that's at Soldan right now.
Well, one of us went to real Soldan and went to a magnet school there, but this was a magnet school that was before it was Soldan International. I went to Classical Senior Academy. They took us out and they combined us first with Metro. That's why it was Metro Classical.
Yes.
And then they took us and gave us our own school when they brought McKinley back.
So it's funny. My mom and all her siblings went to Soldan, and then my mother taught at Soldan, and she's
Wow.
a 30 plus year educator.
What's your mom's name?
Jennifer Jackson.
That is
She was
Everybody
the
deserves
loves
an
Miss. Everybody
applause.
loves Miss Jackson.
yeah, she was the
Yeah, she,
athletic
Yeah,
yeah,
director.
she
that's
steps
good.
around and everybody loved Miss Jackson. Trust
Yeah.
me. I didn't live in the area,
Yeah.
but I always went to school over there and then went to grade school in that area. But when I got to Soldan, I'm like, who is this lady? Yeah, but she was a gym teacher.
She was.
Naturally, she was in shape, and she promoted healthy living. But she had a way that she knew how to connect with children, which is one of the best traits that a teacher can have. That's how, like, when people how you see me talking about your grandmother and her mom. When teachers really make a difference, you can actually tell in the students and how they act with them, how they excuse me, I'm sorry, just how in everyday life or just when they're out of school, and how they talk about those administrators and those teachers. It's a very great thing when you can make a difference in a child's life,
Oh, yeah.
and to where 20 to 30 plus years later, when they hear your name, immediately they say, "Oh, I love her."
Oh, yeah.
And trust me, I didn't go because I know we just had our all class reunion, but any like teacher that's well loved, oh, they're like royalty at Sony.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me. But that's great to know and understand and see that. So, you went to what business management?
Yeah, I went to CMLPP, Center for
That's a really small
Management
school.
Law, Public Policy.
Really small school.
Yes, a very small school.
That's great though. I'm actually when I used to do something else at my employer, I had somebody who I used to deliver mail to went to business management.
Really?
What was her name? She was really nice too. She managed the actual apartment complex that I had to deliver mail to. And then she was the only other person I ever knew that went to business management besides her.
Yeah.
So,
not very many of us.
are you plant-based?
I am not
You're plant-based. I mean, vegan curious, as we
Plant
discussed.
curious.
plant curious. Okay.
And you were telling me about Caleb.
Yes, yes.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 26.
26 years old.
Yes, sir.
That's great. So now your mom was telling me that you're vegan curious as well.
Yeah, I'm vegan curious and plant curious. The most I can really say for like plant-based things that I've had, and I know it's probably not really qualified, but Burger King has a
Impossible.
the Impossible Whopper. I know it's not really plant based, or I'm not sure like what it does,
Yeah.
but the one thing I can say is when I eat it, I'm not full. I don't feel slow, so I try to go towards that a little bit more if I am gonna like get like a burger or something that I eat like for lunch, because I noticed that that is like true, but it like whatever they do to it, it tastes like meat,
Yeah.
and that's amazing. I don't know
Yeah.
how that works, but that's really cool.
Oh, it's great. As long as you don't get it with no cheese.
Yeah,
No
nah,
mayo.
I don't really like cheese on
No
it.
cheese,
Yeah,
no
nah.
mayo.
I can explain the difference between vegan and plant-based. So, plant-based, you're going to be eating your food in its natural form. It's not processed. So, like fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, legumes. But vegan, it still doesn't have any dairy or animal products, but it can be processed, manufactured like the Impossible meat. They put additives in it to make it taste like the real thing.
Yeah.
So it's still vegan and it's still a better option. But if you're looking at something super healthy, then you would lean towards plant-based. I do a combination of both. My diet, I try to make it more 80% plant-based and 20% vegan. So like I have my cheat days when I can eat vegan, what they call vegan cheat food. But that's really what the difference is. So
Okay.
just wanted to break that down for everyone.
Okay, that's cool. And
Yeah.
we always try to like look for like different type of places that we can go to. The last place we went to was like Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
And that was really
They have
fun.
really good
yeah,
options
they
at
had
Trader
some really cool
Joe's. Yeah.
options, but we
Yeah.
just kind of went around and just picked up some random
Yeah.
stuff. So
And Trader Joe's is very inexpensive too.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love Whole Foods, but Trader Joe's is friendly on the pocket.
Yeah.
Yes.
He used to work at Whole Foods. So Caleb probably eats a lot better than what he's like
Letting on.
leaning into. he explored it far before I ever was considering like could this be an option. He would try different things and like one of his go-tos, he said, I think they like say that they don't have it because I come so much, but on Hampton, So High, he loves their like veggie burger, like he
Yeah.
loves that so
Yes.
much. And he will try different things that are like plant based. His cousin now, Jordan is plant based or vegan.
He is vegan.
Okay.
And he's been vegan for some years, and when he first told me he was doing it, it was kind of crazy. But he's been doing it great, and he cooks his own stuff. He
Yeah.
makes his own things.
Oh,
and
he's really into it.
But
Yeah.
Yes.
Brandon is plant based, right?
he's plant based.
and
Yeah.
he like makes his own pasta.
Yeah, like he
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like
That's
that.
what I like to
and
do.
it
Yeah.
started from a place of him being like really educated by when he lived in Florida. He worked for like he was making smoothies. I don't remember which place he worked at. But he
Yeah.
started understanding like the nutrients and the benefit of like vegetables and fruits
Yes.
and their like natural
Yes.
state and things like that,
Yes.
and then to build out. And when we do end up talking, he's always just like really encouraging me that like I would find a different level of cooking because I like to cook. He was like, you would enjoy cooking in this
Yes.
state and all of those kinds of things
Yes.
because then you're playing with the seasonings on it and all of that kind of stuff. Like
Yes.
I found that for me, well, one, it's such timing is a beautiful thing. So even when I ran into Damon in a day, I was trying new things because I'm like, my diet has to change because of just some physical things that are going on, and diet is where I'm trying to first explore because you have your Tabitha Browns and things like that
Yes.
really give testimony to having a complete shift in health
Yes.
based on diet changes.
Exactly.
And I have two friends that have also really shifted their health based on diet changing, and they're more plant-based and everything. So I was like, well, okay, but it has to taste good because I like food.
Yes.
So I was like, if it don't taste good, I'm right back to all of the bad stuff real easy, real quick.
Yeah.
And so
Understand
that
that.
is where I was trying to like explore and find those things that like, okay, it tastes really good and it's really good for me. So I've tried two of the places that one of the places that Damon recommended, and then one of the places that, like he said, he just ran into me. And the irony of me being outside is I stepped outside because I ask a lot of questions. I'm very inquisitive. I
Yes.
talk a lot, and I couldn't see the menu in there. So I was like, well, let me just go outside and then try to see what I could read for myself. So it was funny. I could tell he was rushing, but I was like, wait, you gave me some information. So now I want to ask you some questions here because you must know something and you black. So I'm really getting ready to lean
right.
into
I'm going to trust your judgment.
Yes.
Now, excuse me, did you order those nachos that day?
I didn't get the nachos that day. What did I get that day? Because I leaned into you telling me to get you also recommended something else. You said, I got burritos, and I got it in the form that you said. Was
the taco grinder, your flavor. Because she gets taco grinder, and
I got the taco grinder. And I don't think I got the nachos. I think I got the taco grinder, and I got the burrito that I wanted to get, but with the taco grinder, because she was like, oh, you can get that. And then I got another one. What I found was the burritos are big.
They are huge. And the quesadillas as well. Yes.
Yes. I was like, okay, that's big for me. Because it also is shifting, like, financially. Because I like to try stuff, too. So I went to the other place that you told me about. What was it?
Station.
Yeah.
Station 3.
Yes.
Station number 3. I think we had just went there like the week before.
Okay.
Right.
That's the one on Utah, right?
Right.
Yes.
Oh man! Now I'm like wanting to go back there so bad. And
I want to go there today.
So I got the burger because the young lady, I was going to get what you told me to try out. I did try the burnt ends. So I was like, I gotta try those. But I was like torn between the po' boy and the burger. And the young lady was there. She was like, I mean, a po' boy is a po' boy is a po' boy. Try the burger if you're gonna try something different.
That is a good point. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, but I've had vegan burgers from places that I really
all vegan burgers are not created the same.
Not at all.
No.
Right.
And not when like burgers are my jam and you're trying to get me to think something else. And she was like, I really think you're gonna like it. So I was like, okay. So here's the thing, I got it for lunch, but I didn't end up eating it until dinner.
Yes.
It was good.
That's
I was
good.
sitting there looking like, oh my goodness. So I ate the burnt ends and their pickle fries for lunch. And then I ate the vegan burger for
Burnt
dinner.
ends are good. Yes.
The burnt ends were really tasty.
Yes.
So,
Now, Caleb, have you had a chance to try station number 3?
No, I'm getting excited hearing about it.
We all might be going today.
Right?
I wanted to bring it back really quick to taste. And when we eat certain things as far as like animal products, especially fast food, you know, they put chemicals in the foods and tricks our brain to think that things taste good. But when you start going plant-based and vegan, your palate changes.
Okay.
And so then you get to really taste like the seasonings and the different fruits and vegetables that are in the foods. And then when you're making it yourself, it just gives it more lust because you're seeing what you're putting into these different recipes. And you get to learn a lot about seasonings. Like I love going to the farmer's market and learning what goes with what. And it really is really fun to do. So, you know, you'll see that your palate's going to change as you shy away from a lot of the animal products.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially that sugar.
Yeah.
Especially that sugar. When you
Really?
cut that out first. Because
Yeah.
like I try to tell people, I gave somebody one of these. But
Now, what is that?
This is a prebiotic soda.
Okay.
But it's like mostly alcohol. Alcohol.
He's ready for me to make this
Right.
drink.
It's mostly
Mostly alcohol.
it's mostly apple cider vinegar based. And like they say, it's the future of soda. But if you still drink regular soda, this would probably taste horrible to you because it don't have no sugar in it for real. So it's like that. Your body gets so conditioned to that feeling. Which
May I ask, is it any anywhere similar to like a kombucha drink or anything, or how's the difference
It's
of
a
it?
little bit different. Kombucha is more like a fermented tea.
Mhm.
And that's sometimes it's served like carbonated.
Okay.
That's more of that has the main ingredient, like he said, is the apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
And then kombucha also it kind of because it is fermented. They do it is a warning label. So like children shouldn't be drinking it because it's like alcohol in it, a
Yeah.
little small amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this whole conversation pretty much speaks to our whole journey right now because what we do with the road tripping vegans, we we highlight different restaurants that people can go to, whether they're minority owned or what, but they're plant based. And what we do with our excuse me with our website redblackandvegan.com is we actually have that's actually a directory that we're building for people can where people can go to be able to find restaurants with no problem. We actually do have an app in development, um, which is going to be specifically for that.
That's
Um,
awesome.
That's amazing.
and as well as the conversation that we were having before, and as far as you guys being vegan curious, and what our not quote unquote goal is, but Marchette was saying, always about educating, sharing information, and that's really the main thing. Is first and foremost sharing the information about being plant based. Like when we met, um, that's really all you want to do. Because like the old saying says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
There
But
it is.
it's like when you know the advantages that you're living through or experiencing, you want other people to experience that.
Mhm.
Um,
You want to share the wealth and the health.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
right.
I like how you said
You might be able to let people understand or see. There was times when I would never come to work without knee braces on.
Yeah.
But you've seen me working with knee braces on. I mean, I always tell people I can only use myself as an example. But when I see when there's someone who's actually seen me and seen probably I don't know if you've noticed any kind of transformation within me. I mean, for the last few months that we've been working together, but um, just when you do experience things like this, per se, as far as life changing, someone my age, I always say it's incumbent upon us to speak with younger black men
Yeah.
or younger men, period, just people, period, but especially when it's black men.
Yeah.
I tell people I wish I would have started this journey 15 to 20 years ago, actually,
Yeah.
in my early to mid 30s, because now, with me being 52, almost 53, I mean, it's cool, don't get me wrong. I didn't have the greatest of habits, but I didn't have the worst of habits either. What is it that makes you, if I can ask, vegan curious? And what would you say would be keeping you from coming to this side?
So I think like one, that's an amazing question, and two, I think it's exactly like what you said, like seeing like my elder black men and like kind of like the complications that they go through in health and like the things that they have to face, like especially like within our line of work, like we kind of just go until we shut down, and like we don't really like kind of realize like, oh, I gotta kind of
Right.
make sure I'm good. Like I was talking to somebody and they were like, "Oh, I go get like manicures and pedicures." I'm like, "For real?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, at first it made me. I was like, "What?" And they was like, "No, like my feet are important. Like I need those. Those like make me money, and those like keep me
Right.
walking. So I have to make sure that they are like taken care of and
Right.
everything. And that goes with your body too. Like whatever you put in it, you gotta give it 100%. So that's one thing that really does make me curious because I notice like it's easy to grab fast food. Like that's the easiest thing. It's like so easy to grab something, boom, you're there. That's it. But like the the thing that like I think the thing that y'all are doing that like really is like important is that y'all are making it like more present to show like, yo, it's more options. I think that's what makes people scared at first is like they don't see as many options presented to them that's like this is more healthier and this is good for you. They see more like, oh, this is fast, it tastes good, boom, get out of here, you know. You just need some. The number one thing I say about like our people that we kind of say is like eat something. It doesn't matter what it is, just eat something. You just need something on your stomach, you know. But
Right, that
it
old
does
saying.
matter.
Convenience
It
foods.
does-
Exactly,
Yes,
but it
convenience
does
foods,
matter
yeah.
what you put in you. You can't just eat something. You have to eat something with nutrients.
Make
something
smart
with,
decisions.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's the
Yeah.
one thing that does keep me like, you know, like, yeah, I should probably not do that. Or I should probably eat this. Or I should probably like, I try to go to, like I said, I try to do Burger King. Or I try to like do a salad. Or I try to eat fruit in the morning. But you know, I do like a chocolate muffin or a chocolate donut. That's just the way I'm programmed. Like
Yeah.
you said, like
Yes.
right now, sugar and chocolate at 26 is amazing. Like I don't know what it is about it, but it just it locks you in. But
Well, you can still have your cake and eat it too.
it, hey,
Yeah, just go with dark chocolate. Yeah, just cut out the milk chocolate. Dark
Yes.
chocolate is a I had a lady tell me a long time ago when I was at work one day. I was, This was like when the Rip It had like first came out, cheap energy drink, and she was like, "Why don't you just eat you some chocolate? That's natural energy." And I ain't even think about it, but I started doing it. But to piggyback on what you were saying though, that is very intelligent by you to be at a young age, and that to have some level of discipline, or not so much discipline, but to the idea of wanting to know and wanting to actually do better and be better dietarily, because we get so, like you said, we get so wrapped up into what we've been taught or what our family has shown, or like you said, just grab something to eat. And it's not as simple as that. Whether you're working outside, inside, wherever, it's much more deeper and better when you have a really a real understanding of what you're putting in your body. Um, I want to switch over to your mom and ask her, because I know you work with boys and girls. Sorry, big brothers and big sisters.
Before you start with that, we need to let people know the number they can call in, the hotline, if they have any questions.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that phone number would be
515-599-1687.
one more time.
515-599-1687. Sorry, Erica. Go ahead.
Or you can hit us up online at the Road Tripping Vegans or redblackandvegan.com. Red Black and Vegan on Instagram. Come to the website though, redblackandvegan.com. And we also do travel right now. But getting back to what we were talking about, Mrs. Sanders, with the big brothers and big sisters.
Yes.
When I saw that you were taking part in that, that was something that really was very enlightening, touching, anything that someone can do with children and showing care towards children. It to me that speaks a lot about your character and just how you are as a person, how you may have been raised or whatever. But because it takes a lot to show care to children that are not yours.
And we really need that these days.
Yes.
Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
can you speak about what you actually do? First, if you can, just let people know some things about the Big Brothers and Big Sisters program and what you actually do.
Absolutely. So that's the part that gets me excited. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri, nationally, but of Eastern Missouri, we have been in service now to community and children for 110 years.
Wow.
Most people do not know that we've been existing in this region for that long. And at its core, the simplified answer is it's a mentoring agency where we're able to connect adult mentors with young people that are in our program. And those young people go from youth ages 5 up to age 17. That's when they graduate out of our traditional program. And over the last 10 years, we've also built on programming that will help to support young people between the ages of 17 and 25. And so that is really exciting. And then within the last 3 to 5 years, we have expanded programming to now support young people in group mentoring in schools and site-based. We brought back around site-based, so that means like in the schools, but you're not in community connecting. You go to the school and connect with that young person. So we have all of these different ways of how we are trying to support young people in our community, and that community looks like St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles, Cape Girardeau. We go as far as Sykeston with some of our services as well. So we are definitely, and as South City, North City, West, all over St. Louis. So we really try to make sure that that extends all over the region. In that regard, we also make sure that we have wraparound services to also benefit the family, because I think that as African Americans, we really understand the fact that you can support a child and make sure that a child is good, but if their family is not good, they're
Right.
still not good.
Yeah.
Because we are raised to support family and support the real thought of it takes a village.
Yes.
And so when my mom is not good, I'm not really good. Like
Yeah.
I'm maintaining,
Yeah.
but I'm not so good.
Family is
And
foundation.
Family is foundation, right? So in that regard, we try to make sure that we uplift and recognize that, number one, I see our parents in our program as the heroes, because they are in some ways doing something that is the most selfless thing that you can do, which is say, I choose help. I
Yes.
ask for help.
Yes, that's a big step.
I am not always the one that can be everything for this being that I love so very much. And that's big.
Yes.
And then that also, it means that sometimes that's stepping out of the way to also help that young person, and then see what other services we can do to provide for their families. So that's like a big overview of Big Brothers Big Sisters. My role at Big Brothers Big Sisters is working with recruitment and community outreach. So I'm the vice president for recruitment and community outreach at the agency, and that looks twofold. The recruitment side of it is doing things like this, talking to people about Big Brothers Big Sisters, getting them excited, letting them know that at the end of the day, we have lots of young people that come to the program naturally. Not so natural to have volunteers come to the program. So educating people on how they can get involved, and really in some ways challenging people. And what you said, Damon, like, I really believe that if you say you're invested in community and you're not investing in a child in some way, I'm not diminishing your stance, but I am asking you to really think about it.
Right.
Because community at its core is preparing the next generation.
Generation, yes.
Because we're not always going to be here.
Yes.
So what you're investing in the next generation is how you're investing in community. Now, that's
love
my
it.
stance.
I love it.
That's my challenge to
Yes.
people.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then that community outreach side of what I do is getting out in community and showing up and saying, we're not always coming with our hands out to ask for help. Sometimes we're coming with our hands out to offer help. So how do we as Big Brothers Big Sisters get out in community, champion other things that are going on, shout out other organizations that are doing amazing things, other businesses and other people doing amazing things in community, and say, how do we collaborate and connect and support the things that you all are doing as well?
Yes. Wonderful. I love that. So as far as recruiting, how do you get people, I mean, if I was interested in signing up, is there a website that I go to?
There is. Absolutely. So our website is www.bbbsemo.org. So that's Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri. Most times when they see it, they say, "Oh, Big Brothers Big Sisters, SEMO." No, although we are in SEMO, but it's that spells out Sisters Eastern Missouri.
Oh, okay.
And you can go to our website. You can go to the volunteer tab. You can read information. It also has my contact information there. Also a link that you can get any one of my team members. You can schedule a time for us to call you when it's convenient for you. You can see the times that work and then schedule a call. It'll put in your information to us and put it on our calendars, and we'll set up a time to call. And we just talk.
Yeah.
You know, my
Yeah.
first thing is, let me just educate you about what this is, what this will look like. Because Damon said a lot of things that are very true to this. Being in a child's life that is not your own is really at its core. That's an intentionality that you have
Exactly.
to be aware of,
Yes.
because you don't think about them every day, and it's not, you haven't built that muscle of them being a part of your everyday active life.
Yes.
So first, give yourself grace and understanding that that's going to be a journey, and then also break down some of those barriers. I challenge people a lot in what I do in saying that we all have biases, and if you say that you don't, then you're already lying to
Yeah.
yourself. So step back and deal with that,
Yes.
and then understanding when you're coming in with these biases, how do those show up in this relationship with this young person, and how are you able to put those to the side and learn and grow, because while you think that you're doing a lot for them, they're also doing a whole lot for you. And
Right.
so leave that space for how you're learning and growing
Yes.
too.
Yes.
That's so great to hear. I'm trying to do this administrative part. Alex, can you hear me, Alex?
Oh.
Yeah, we got you on screen. This is one of our guests for today. This is Mr. Alex Hill III. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing incredibly well. Happy Sunday to all of you.
Hey.
Yeah,
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah, we got Mrs. Erica Sanders. This is one of our guests. This is her son, by the way. If you can see him to my right, she's with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Missouri. Just give us a little. I'm sorry. This is a gentleman that we met back in February. This is actually the guy who gave us our first ever live food review, and he did it on his own volition in Indianapolis. And
Yes.
we actually work together now, doing travel, and he's a very wonderful young man. But if you could give us a little insight about you and your plant-based journey, Alex.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. And Damon has always been so kind. And I'm just, first of all, it's just such a pleasure to be here with you guys today. And, you know, I'm kind of laughing because I wasn't so sure what to expect, right? Because I haven't been on this platform before. But to my surprise, I think you guys kind of caught me at a perfect time. Actually, I'm in the process of preparing lunch for myself right now.
Oh, that's perfect.
Well,
But
I
I-
saw it look like some mushrooms.
Yeah. What are you cooking?
Oyster mushrooms. Yeah, I'm soaking them right now. Yeah. So I'm gonna probably make myself like a little like a pulled pork barbecue oyster mushroom like sandwich.
Nice.
Haven't quite decided yet precisely what I'm gonna do with it, but I'm gonna be quite creative. But nevertheless, I started, vegan. Well, let me just take you guys back a little bit more. So when I was a kid, I was never a kid that really had an affinity for meat. Obviously, I would eat what my parents would cook and what they would prepare. I had no other choice. But as I got older, probably in my early teens, I started to take more control of like my diet and my choices. And it wasn't until I got to college that I began to kind of explore more on the intellectual side of things. And I found myself kind of gravitating more to like veganism. I don't think that I really committed myself completely until about maybe at the age of 24. I tried it for the first maybe 30 days, and I was like, I don't know. It's kind of difficult for me to do, only because in terms of cost wise, it was very difficult for me to do. Um, and then about 8 years ago, I was living in the city of Chicago, and I found it incredibly easy for me to kind of like navigate veganism. There's a huge vegan community in Chicago, but more importantly, in terms of accessibility. I think where I lived, it was easy for me to go to the store, the grocery store, find what I want, get what I want, prepare what I want. And so for me, I think it was much easier for me to kind of delve into and really fully commit myself to veganism because of my accessibility to things. Again, I think it has always been in my mind in terms of making better choices, healthier choices for myself. It was always something that I've wanted to do. Um, but I think that the catalyst of all of that, it started again, maybe in my early teens. And I lost my father at the age of 16. And I lost my father. My father actually died of a heart attack. And then, just after having more conversations with his physician, I later realized that, of course, the heart attack and his health issues were all related to the food that he would eat. And so for me, that was incredibly important. And that stuck with me. In fact, it still sticks with me to this day. And so I'm very thoughtful about things that I put into my body. I'm very thoughtful about things that I drink. I'm very thoughtful about, people that I engage in conversations with, particularly young children, because on a day-to-day basis, I often work with young children. So I'm frequently having conversations with people about, just being very mindful of things that they put into their bodies. And just, making sure that they're making the best healthy eating choices for themselves. Right. So for me, I think ultimately what I would say is, again, my journey really started with my father. And I'm so glad that I made this transition. And I can't find myself looking back or kind of venturing off and trying something different. Even when I travel, again, I know that Damon had shared that we had met as we both were traveling. I think we were in Indianapolis. So even when I travel, I'm very thoughtful about that as well. Sometimes I may have to pack a couple things just to make sure I have what I need, like my necessities. But beyond that, I'm always, no matter where I'm at, I'm going to always make sure that I find something that is good for my body.
Yeah, remember in Indianapolis, she had that door locked and we couldn't get in.
Yes.
He was banging on the door.
Yeah,
because we
so
was just
true.
knocking on that same door. But that's wonderful to hear you say that, because that actually speaks to what the young man to my right was saying earlier in regards to how black men have to understand what we're putting in our bodies, and understanding that at a young age, and seeing older men and what they've gone through health-wise, being able to expound upon that was great. By the way, I'm sorry that you lost your father at such an early age, because that's something hard to deal with as a teenager.
Yeah,
that's a lot. It was a lot for me just a few years ago, and I was 50, and I can imagine having to go through that as a teenager. That's very hard to deal with. But can you speak to just some of the younger generation about how you got past that, even without veganism, just per se?
Yeah.
Just how did you navigate going through those feelings? Because we have, since we do have a guest here who actually does work with children.
Yes.
So and right now, this is where our conversation is pretty much, the Lord has steered this to this.
Yes.
We are here to speak about these babies and how to get them to the next level, health wise.
I think for me, as I kind of look back on my own journey, it was really important for me to be obedient to, my mother. I mean, my father was no longer present, so I think my mom offered a lot to me. And not only that, but my mom unlocked opportunities for me to connect with people out in the community as well. And I had to, as a child, even though I was 16 years old, but as a child, I had to have an open mind. Right. I think that it was hard for me once I lost my father. So I became I was very angry because I really wanted my father to be present. But I think after having multiple conversations with my mom, and my mom realizing that she wasn't getting anywhere with me, again, unlocking those community resources. Once she unlocked those community resources, I was able to connect with someone like a counselor to be able to support me throughout, my darkness, my dark times that I was having. Yes, and I think in those sessions that I would have with, the therapist, or in those sessions that I would have with the counselor, I have to be brutally honest about my feelings. And not only being brutally honest about my feelings, but what I was experiencing as well. So to me, that was, I feel, probably the highlight in the very beginning. Having those resources, being able to kind of like share my thoughts and feelings with someone outside of the household that I really began to trust. That was important to me. And then not only that, just finding other people inside of my school that I was able, like a trusted adult, someone that I was able to connect with. But of course, I also had an ecosystem of friends that I was also able to tap into. So for me, I thought the biggest thing was it was easy for me to isolate myself, right? Because I was ultra angry. But I realized early on that it was important for me to step outside of that isolation and really connect to people within my community, within my household, and within my social circle, so that I can be able to kind of catapult myself in a way that was really destined for me. So I think that those were the primary things that I really connected to early on. I would also say too, beyond that, I remember when I was a kid, and again, going back to talking a little bit about my anger, I had to find a way to kind of nestle myself and really anchor myself, so that I can channel some of that negative energy into a positive manner. And so for me, I remember early on, I kind of like found myself doing things that I wouldn't really do, because I felt like when my father was present, like I was always on the go. I was always with my father, always kind of like an academic kid. But I think that once I lost my father, I really found myself kind of embedding my head and engulfing myself into the books. And I kind of pushed myself a little bit further. And then, of course, I went off to college, and I found myself really kind of, again, kind of detaching myself from things that I probably would do previously, but again, kind of becoming more academic driven. So for me, I kind of found myself not putting up fights. I found myself not engaging in arguments with people that love me, but really becoming academically focused. So I had to find something that I really, really liked, I really, really enjoy, and something that really pushes me, and something that really challenges me and keeps me kind of attentive. And I found that in my academics.
That's great. That's beautiful to hear. That is so beautiful to hear. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure I speak with some inflection. But something. One of the things that you said so many things that stuck out in my head, and I was trying to put a pin in them to make sure I want to come back to them. But um, speaking about being plant based in Chicago, because one thing I've noticed is it seems like there's just restaurants everywhere because
Yeah.
there's so many people. In the few times that we've been, we've had a great time each time. What would you recommend, since we do have people here who are vegan curious?
Yes.
Give them a couple of different spots outside of what we would recommend. What you would recommend for them to
What
come
I
to, restaurants that you would recommend for them to come to while in Chicago.
Okay. A number one, it's not completely vegan, but they do have vegan options. It's a Mediterranean restaurant. It's in West Loop, and I tend to chop it up sometimes, but I think it's called Adobe. I could be wrong, but it's Mediterranean. It starts with no Abba. That's the name of it. I knew it was gonna
Oh,
come to me.
There we
Called
go.
Abba.
okay.
AB. It's Mediterranean, and I absolutely love it. They have this cauliflower. It's like a charred cauliflower on a skewer, and it comes with like this white cilantro lime. Not really cilantro. It may be cilantro, like a cilantro lime rice. Delicious.
Mm.
I think rice is incredible, and it comes with tzatziki sauce. But I never get tzatziki sauce. I often go with the tahini or the tahini sauce. Um, and it also comes with dates. So on this
Oh my
on this
goodness.
skewer,
That sounds so
yeah,
good.
this skewer you have hard
Dates on it?
cauliflower and dates. When I tell you, it's the most delicious meal that I've ever had in my life. It's
Wow.
Abba.
I've making it at home, and it doesn't compare.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
because I always do
So
this thing when we go out to eat at a restaurant. I'm like, I can make this at home.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the way you described it, I want to try it there first.
Yeah.
yeah, you have to try it. And again, it's in West Loop, and it's called Abba. The number two place that I would recommend. I'm trying to think. Listen, if you ever go to Chicago, you must try. Uh, what is it called? Oh my goodness. I'm having a hard time. Why? Because I've gotten to the point now where I don't go out as much and eat. I now
Mm,
cook a lot inside of my place. So that's
right.
why I'm having a hard time. But the name of the place, I'm gonna have to look it up. But it's been around Chicago for quite some time. It's probably gonna come to me at some point. But it's been in Chicago probably longer than any other vegan spot. It's a staple if you were to come here. Oftentimes you find people at this staple that are non-vegans, but they really enjoy the food because the food is incredible. Not only that, I also will say that the food, a lot of the things that they provide in their kitchen, they will offer you is all local. You know what I mean? So it's not like that they're exporting food from anywhere or importing food from anywhere. It's all local, and it is a hamburger spot. It is a breakfast spot. It is a brunch spot. To me, I think that they have a lot to offer for all food types, but primarily, like if you have an interest in veganism, you can really tour around with it. So when you go there, they do offer vegan items. It's primarily vegan based, but they will provide you with, if you don't want anything vegan, you can also get something that is not for vegans. The other place that I would think of, oh my goodness, maybe Lyra. Lyra is also in West Loop as well, and Lyra is a Mediterranean restaurant. I love Mediterranean food.
Yeah,
And
me too.
Lyra is very similar to Abba. It's a little bit more upscale though. I would probably say this is maybe like a five-star restaurant. And maybe the thing that I would order from them is maybe some, I think that they have, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's like a chickpea based something. It's more like a falafel, but it's not a falafel. It's
Okay.
incredible. And I'm trying to think the other thing that I would get from them. It's not connecting. It's
That's
been a
fine.
minute.
That's perfectly
I
fine.
yeah, it's been a minute because I do cook a lot here inside of my crib. But again, the Abba place for sure. There's a staple, as I shared with you, and that is located. I know it's located in Logan Square, and they also have one in Lakeview.
Hmm.
And then the third place that I told you about, Lyra. Lyra is in West Loop, and that is also very close to Abba. Now, if you happen to come to Chicago, I will tell you that you will find an abundance of options inside of West Loop. West Loop is maybe like restaurant haven. So anything that you want, anything that you can imagine under the sun is in West Loop. I would frequent West Loop more than I would frequent anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
So it's literally you can come, it's truly like a hub, like a restaurant hub. You can come to Chicago, go to West Loop, and you can just walk around and you'll find all things. There's also a place, it's called Time Out. Time Out, if you walk into Time Out, it's sort of like a warehouse of restaurants. You'll walk in and they have like three floors. It's packed with restaurants and bars, and that's all that you can find in there. And if you happen to go in there on the third floor, there's a taco spot, and it also has a rooftop as well. It's incredible. And they offer vegan options. So if you happen to come, you must stop there.
Oh man, that's so great.
All right.
Thanks for being such a wealth of information.
Yeah, going to Chicago.
Uh, how now this question here is just this is plant based, but it's also personal. How accessible was plant based eating when you went to Egypt?
When I was in Egypt, how accessible was it? Well, let me tell you, the funny thing is, in Egypt, I guess what you would call their primary meal is all vegan.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
pasta, it is rice, it is
Mm-hmm.
chickpea. It's all vegan. So that is easily accessible. You can find that on every block. So if you
Oh,
want
okay.
that, you can get that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
The other,
great.
and I can't remember precisely what they call it, but that is something that you can find no matter where you go. The other thing that I'll say to you, where I stayed, it was very easy for me because the places that I stayed at, they had multiple restaurants. So one of them I think had maybe like an Italian restaurant. One of them may have had like an American restaurant, and then the other one was an Egyptian restaurant. And I because I've been doing this maybe for 8 years now, no matter where I go, I tend to engage in conversations with the chef because I want to know what they can prepare for me. I'll take a look at the menu and then I'll probably be very creative based upon what's on the menu to kind of create things of my own. I also stayed at another place that included an Indian restaurant. I have found that when I go to Indian spots, it's very easy for me to find things that I love or I enjoy because vegan restaurants, they tend to cater to, not vegan restaurants, Indian restaurants, they tend to cater to veganism. And speaking of, I'm going to go back to Chicago. So we were talking about Chicago restaurants. There's a Nepalese restaurant that's in South Loop, and I believe it's on 13th and South Michigan. So if you go to Chicago, you have to try out this Nepalese restaurant. They own a Nepalese restaurant and they also own an Indian restaurant. I think the Indian restaurant that they own is called Curry House. That's also in South Loop as well, and that's on State Street. Um, but yeah, it was easily accessible when I was in Egypt. As I mentioned to you, they have a diversity. I think in terms of like their restaurant options, there's a diversity in terms of the mixture. I think I would also say when I was in this place called Saqqara, it was not as diverse. But if you're in the city of Cairo, you'll find that there's a mixture of different cultures in Cairo. You'll also find that there are tons of restaurants that you can access. I think when I went to Sharm el Sheikh, at the hotel that I stayed at, it was a resort that I stayed at. It was a 5-star hotel, and they had about 10 restaurants inside of this one hotel. And so you can find anything from around the world. But more importantly, what I want people to know and understand that people are listening today, no matter where you go, you can find things, you can be very creative, you can get things that you want, but you have to engage in conversations with the person that's in the kitchen. So I think that to me is most important. And I had to find my inner voice and I had to advocate for myself. I remember I went to Cancun and it was very hard for me to get what I want. But then I had to have conversations with the chef. And when you talk to the chef, I think many people really want people to leave happy. Many people want people to have precisely what they want if it's something within their kitchen that they're able to make. But you have to kind of begin to kind of have some of those negotiation skills when you are traveling and you know that you don't have things packed in your luggage to prepare your own meal. So I have always found it easy for me no matter where I travel. But more recently, when I traveled to Egypt, it was very easy for me because of places that I had stayed at.
That's so wonderful.
I think the reason too, I'm sorry to
Go ahead.
interrupt. The reason why it's so easy when you travel is because you're so educated in knowing what options that are vegan. So, Alex, I have a question about the second restaurant that you were referring to. That's a staple in Chicago. Is it called I Can't Believe It's Not Meat?
No, but I
It's
do
not?
love this. I don't
Okay.
even know why I didn't even plug that because I even know the owner. So I do love I Can't Believe It's Not Meat. They have one in Hyde Park. They have one in Old Town, and they also have one in Orland Park. Incredible food. What I will say, and because I'm an honest person, I think that one, I love the fact that it's black owned. Two, I love the fact that when you happen to go to this restaurant, there's a ton of things on the menu that you can order. Three, not only in terms of food, but I mean in terms of drinks as well. So she's very creative with her drink menu. Not any alcohol, but certainly like soft drinks, lemonades, things of that nature, juices. So those are the things that I absolutely love about that restaurant. And I think when you go inside, it's very chill. I mean, it's very homey.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you ever come to Chicago or you're in the metropolitan Chicago area, you have to try out I Can't Believe It's Not Me.
Yeah, I missed out on them when we went to
Yeah.
Veganville. I did have a question about that though, since we do have two guests here who are vegan curious.
Okay.
Now, I everyone can pretty much see where she was going with the name of the restaurant, correct?
Uh-huh.
Your describe to our vegan curious guests your first time eating that sandwich, the very first time,
At her restaurant.
correct? Did it
It was
make?
very
I was gonna say, I'm sorry. Did it make you think or feel like I can't? I'm sorry. I see why she named it like this.
Yeah, because let me say this. One, I think that I think it was the one that was off 55th. It was in Hyde Park. That was the first one that I had tried. Um, and I remember, I'm trying to remember precisely what I had the first time. I can't recall. Oh, maybe it was a chili feast cheesesteak. That's exactly what I had. It was a Philly cheesesteak, and I was like, wow. And I've never had a vegan chili feast cheesesteak before. My word. But so I had ordered that, and I think I might have asked for extra onions and maybe extra peppers on it, and maybe even some extra cheese on it. Because I was like, listen, if I'm gonna do a Philly cheesesteak, I might as well go all out.
Right.
And so she prepared it for me, and my first bite, it was, I mean, honestly, unbelievable. It was so reminiscent, and I've been to Philly before. It was so reminiscent of like an original Philly cheesesteak that I had to even ask for a second one. And I remember it because I was on lunch when I stopped by, but I had to think about, oh my God, what I'm going to have for dinner. So
That's how
I
it
ended
be.
up ordering another one just to have in my bag with me for dinner time. But it was so good. And it reminded me so much of a Philly cheesesteak. Um, but I will tell you though, because I have a little bit of bias, and I think it's important for me to be honest here. So I love her food. I think that her food is incredible. But this is not anything. This is not a dart, or this is not anything negative towards her restaurant. But I have become, so my palate has changed. My palate has changed in a way where I've become more of a raw vegan.
Hmm.
So I tend to do things to nowadays that where I'm not really frying food. I'm not I won't put anything in my oven. I'm not making things appear to be like when I first started out as a vegan. And when I first started out as a vegan, I really tried my best to make things appear or present as though they weren't vegan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
So,
sense.
Yes, perfect.
so palate has changed.
Now, I don't want to seem like I'm cutting you off or anything, but this is Tequila and Tofu. So I'm gonna let you don't have to leave or anything, but I'm gonna let you get back to that meal for a second. But the curly vegan, she's gonna have our drink of the day right now. So we're gonna turn this over to her.
Fair enough.
All right. So this is gonna be the red, black, and vegan margarita. I literally just made it up like 30 minutes ago. The red would represent the orange liqueur, which is the Grand Marnier. The green would be like the lime juice. The black would be like the anejo tequila, but I have Blanco today. I do have Casamigos. That is 80% proof. So you'll feel it upon first. Oh, okay. He wants me to hold it up. This is the Casamigos. All right, and then a little bit of sweet and sour and ice. So I've already put it in my shaker. I'm gonna shake it up. Oh, so I guess I need to tell you the exact recipe. So it's 1.5 parts shot of tequila, 1 part Grand Marnier, 1 part lime juice, and 1 part sweet and sour. Not the healthiest drink. Next week I'll be more prepared. I'm gonna make some more organic, fresh, with fresh ingredients like mango and things like that. This was in a rush. So, but again, in moderation, right? We can enjoy things in moderation. So, I'm going to go ahead and shake this up and serve it.
Let's get drunk. No, but I'm glad that we got a chance to hear those words from Alex.
And I love how he ended on the part about the palate and the
Correct.
raw vegan part.
Straight
Yeah,
from his
yeah,
voice.
how your palate changes. And how he wants to do things in a more raw vegan way instead of, going out to restaurants and eating all the additives and things like that. So I'm glad that he's doing it. And the fact that he cooks at home a lot instead of eating out. Because I've been on my journey for 10 years being vegan, and sometimes I would get away from cooking and I would eat out a lot, although it was vegan food or, go to like you mentioned, Burger King. I used to love those Impossible Whoppers. Then I started to see I was gaining weight and I was getting sluggish. I'm like, this shouldn't be happening. I'm vegan. I gotta be skinny. So then I went back and took a closer look at my diet and made some substitutions and eating like I said, more plant based compared to more vegan. So I've already seen a big difference.
I appreciate both of you all saying that. Even Damon sharing, just like I was wearing knee braces to do work, and now 9 months later, that's not something that I have to be dependent upon anymore. And both you and Alex saying something that Caleb kind of told me when he had me to try even the veggie burger, because I was just like, well, it doesn't. And he was like, if you are trying to get yourself to think of this or taste this like a hamburger, you're missing the experience of
Right.
it. Like, it's not what it is what it is. So don't look for it to try to make you
To mimic it. Yeah.
mimic
Yeah,
something else. And
yeah.
I was like, okay, so that kind of changed the way that I was experiencing it, and it helped me to understand that that's a mindset shift too. And I have two really great friends, and I think they are tuning in. So shout out Kelly and Sheena. But they also have very much just kind of talk to me about those mind shifts that come
That's
with learning a new way of eating and intake for yourself, even when it comes to like portions control and things like that. And there are some things that when you're taking it, it's not even that you have to do moderation, but you also have to be very mindful of those. Are you okay? Are you pulling out the sugars and things like that? And there's some places where I already, like Caleb was a big vegetable kid. Like, we always used to tease when I was using peppers or things like that to cook. I always had to buy extra pepper and just slice his up like
Nice.
apples and just like
Nice.
give it to him to eat. He just likes green peppers.
Yeah.
Just from work, have a colleague that works on a farm, well, that lives on a farm, and she just brought him a bag full of tomatoes,
Love it.
and that's been like
Love it.
historically their relationship, always bringing him tomatoes and things like that. So he's always been able to like lean into loving veggies and things. I lean into loving fruit and nuts and
Oh,
things
that's so
like
funny.
that.
We're the opposite. I love vegetables and he loves fruit.
Oh, that's
That's funny you mentioned that. Yeah.
I love them both.
Yeah,
she
yeah,
right
Yeah,
there.
I love them both,
She
but
right there. I
I
like fruit
will
more.
definitely
I'll choose a
find my
vegetable
way.
over fruit. That's how I
Yeah,
am.
she'll do that any
There
day
you
of the
go.
week. And that's great to her as well. I'm getting so lost in thought because I'm hearing so many different and wonderful things, and just experiencing so many different things. One thing that you were saying as well, when you're talking about that mind shift and the things that you go through mentally and psychologically, like you said, Caleb was saying, you're missing out on the experience if you're looking for that particular taste per se. And we were talking about that earlier, and trying to make sure that we wanted to have intentional discussion about that. When people talk about, well, why are you trying to make this? Why are you trying to replicate the taste of such and such? And it's not so much you're trying to replicate it, but you're replicating it in a much healthier fashion. So it's like when they tell you, well, why don't you just eat a steak? Because I don't want the improperties of the steak. That's why, So, but when you start to recognize things like that, and during this whole broadcast, what one thing that has really stuck out in my head, because I always gravitate first and foremost towards men and black men. When you see basically 3 generations of black men here discussing health in a proper and eating healthier. You know what I'm saying? For me, for both of us to get a chance to learn from Alex, and for you to get a chance to glean information just from 2 older men. Period. It speaks to what we, like I said, are trying to get across, not just to black men, but people. Period. You know what I'm saying? Share this information, share this this lifestyle. And then when I've been experiencing for the last couple of months the same thing that he was talking about. When you get to the point where you really don't really want to eat impossible or beyond anymore, and as you really do just want to go raw, per se. Excuse me. Which leads me, before I go any further, I do want to say once again, for anyone who wants to call in, 515-599-1687, 515-599-1687. That is the hotline for the show, and our wonderful sponsor, redblackandvegan.com, travel services. Hit us up if you need to go anywhere, wherever you would like to go. We do travel now, and we have over 30 years worth of experience in the travel game. So, getting back to what I was just saying, though, that mind shift that you have, that you experience and you go through, you want people to experience that. Um, Hoping to bring it back again to what we were talking about before, as far as the kids getting a chance to let the children know, who are in a very vulnerable space at that time. You can go plant based if you like and be experiencing, but to be able to tell them, I did this, and hopefully this is one way you can deal with some of the issues that you're going through. You know what I'm saying? But just because they go through a lot of emotional and psychological issues, that, and I think that's the thing that people don't want to deal with when they don't want to get involved. Do you remember? I'm trying to think. My cousin Ryan Jackson. Did he work with Big Brothers and Big Sisters? No, he worked with Mentor St. Louis. That's what it was.
Okay.
He worked with Mentor St. Louis. But just like I said, speaking about that again, if you could let children know, this is another way to deal with your issues.
Also, too, not only changing your life to a vegan or plant-based diet is good for your health, but it's good for your mental health.
Okay.
I noticed for me, like when I first went vegan, I never really struggled with mental health, but I just noticed that I had a better sense of clarity. I was always just in a great mood. I mean, I was already a happy person, but it just elevated to the next level. A lot of that has to do with just the types of food that you're eating. Like I went back to chemicals. It can cause a chemical imbalance when you're eating a lot of animal products. And so I think personally that having a plant-based diet really does help with your mental health.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you, and I was really excited. And thank you, Alex, for like sharing your journey. I think that there are so many things that like resonated. Like you were just saying, Damon. Like my mind was like going, thinking about things that Caleb has experienced. I've experienced just the connection and the loss of parents. I lost my mom within the last 2 to 3 years, and just I know, and Caleb lost a brother. It's very those things will shift the way that you look at life. Like Alex said, what you choose for your next leg of journey can be very, again, back to that word, intentional about how you want to see your life go. And sometimes that's confusing, sometimes that's dealing with a lot of anger and putting a lot of things down. But when you're able to start from a place of like, with thinking about a young person, right, and bringing it back to talking about the youth, and you're able to instill in them some quality practices that strip away some of those things that they don't have to deal with. You just think a lot of where some of our youth are in the most need, they're in like food deserts and things like that, where they can't get to even those fast food restaurants and things like that. So them being able to know how to put together a quick salad or a quick veggie plate or something like that, and understand the nutrition that they're putting in on a level that doesn't have to make them feel like they just had a cheeseburger from McDonald's. It makes them feel even better. And
or grow your own vegetables.
Or grow your own vegetables, and then your backyard becomes something that is no oasis for you, that pays you back, and gives you time to like really get your hands in the dirt, and just all of the levels of benefit. And not a cheesy segue, but a segue into the fact that like mentorship can do that in such an amazing way, because you bring a young person into practices that are not something that you have to take them, that are outside of what they can do, one, in their own home and community, and then two, something that you're doing every day, something that is just a part of who you are. You're just helping them to experience and open up their mind to a new way of thinking, much like how Alex said about his mom. She where she couldn't connect it, she took it to community to connect him. And then he did have to, come with a little bit of open-mindedness,
Right.
but now he was being connected on a level that intrigued him and inspired him in another way.
Yes.
That's the part that I was trying to get at earlier, as far as what she said. Where when I was trying to say, as far as with men, what we have to learn is when we get to that crossroads. Like me and Marchette talk a lot. I have to understand. I have to tell her about how you have to try to push away men thoughts,
Yeah.
egotistical and prideful thoughts,
Yeah.
things that they think men should be going through or saying or doing per se.
Yeah.
And you have to push all of that aside and actually want to put the work in for yourself and on yourself, because you can't escape the person, like they say, the man in the mirror.
Oh no, and I think that's the main thing. I'm sorry to cut you off. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, that's the
good.
main thing for like younger men. Like, I think that's the number one thing Alex had touched on or just said is like being able to understand how to articulate yourself. Like,
Thank you.
we really don't know how to articulate ourselves or know what emotions we're feeling. So like, he knew he was feeling anger, but some young men in my age, they don't know what they're feeling. They're just feeling something.
Well, I
And-
think they know how to. I don't mean to cut you off, but they know how to. They know what they're what they're feeling. They don't know how to express it
That is, yes, that's
in
what it is,
in a
yeah.
way where it doesn't come off as argumentative or combative, because we're so used to being dysfunctional
Exactly.
within our
Yes.
society.
And
Yes.
labeled.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
yes, and
And that's a hard thing when you're so used to it. I mean, I don't have a problem with being open about myself. I was used to that, and I was actually exhorting that behavior towards her, and that wasn't right, because it's not when you're not a healthy enough person psychologically, you do dumb shit like that,
Yeah,
and you act out like that, and you don't know, because you're trying, you want to, like you say, you want to express yourself, but you're not used to doing it in a correct manner, so you don't know how to go about it. And
Yeah.
as long as you have someone who loves you and can stick by you and understand you're trying to get your words out, but you don't know how, and you need help. You can need help at 26 or 46, but it be acceptable to the help though,
and
and
being okay
then
to say
want to do it.
and being okay to say it, and also how you said, like, I think it goes right back around to like the food, like it's chemicals, like
Yes.
it's gonna make you feel different. It's gonna make you like act different.
It
Like,
is.
there's a reason, like it's such a certain like shift, in the city, and people like they're having access to like these chemicals, and it's like it's not really, it's not good for you, but like it's there, and they
Yeah.
can have it. And like you said, they might even be able to get to like the quick fast food thing. You can go to a gas station. Like, I remember back, like the gas station was our stuff. Like, just going to get a bag of chips,
Yeah.
but we don't know that that's styrofoam and like
Right.
things
Red
that like
40.
make
Red
it
number
addictive
40.
to like
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
eating it and stuff. But we don't know, like, oh, later that's gonna make you feel like sluggish and sad and mad, and like
Yeah.
if somebody comes to you the wrong way, you might just like
Yeah.
go off on them for no
Yeah.
reason, because you don't, like you said, you don't know, like,
Yeah.
That's
well,
just it.
you just don't know.
As soon as you find out, that's when you are charged with. Let me go to the next person and tell them.
Yeah.
Even though you may not even be following all the practices yourself yet, but you want to.
Yes.
But when you find that information out, you share that information, and you hope that somebody do something with it. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But you have to share that information,
Yes.
because you never, like we talked about before, you don't know the effect it's going to have on you yourself. Just because you share something with a stranger, you don't know how that may mushroom out to whatever it may mushroom into. But you are supposed to do that once you find out the right way to do something.
Yeah.
Let's have our guests first. How you guys like these drinks?
Oh, these are amazing. I gotta say, yeah, this
Hopefully they're not too strong.
On a scale of, we have a rating scale of 5 plants.
Thank you.
The 5 being the best, and so don't be afraid to say that if it's a horrible drink.
It's
no.
not.
Yeah,
On a
because I
scale
can
of 1
learn
to 5.
from critique.
No, that's a 5 plant margarita.
Thank
right
you.
there.
I'm gonna give it a 5. Just the salt, the sweet, and the little tart.
Yes.
It's a nice mix.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank
yes.
you. Thank you.
Now, I was hoping things got a little hectic this morning and yesterday. I was hoping I could have just had some food here for you guys to sample or share. But naturally we always have restaurants that we recommend or that you could go to. Anything that you recommend? Any restaurant you want to recommend for them to go to today?
Besides station number 3, well, you mentioned Caleb that you like sweets. So Sweet Art. I don't know if you ever been there, but it's a plant-based vegan bakery. I actually just went there yesterday, but they also sell food as well.
We used to live around the corner. We used to live in walking distance of Sweetheart.
Yeah, okay. And there was a rumor that I guess a couple of years ago she wasn't completely 100% plant-based, but she is now. Also, what else do I recommend? What's the place? Bombay Food Eats. That's
Bombay
in.
Food Junkies.
Is that in Chesterfield?
No, it's Creed Core.
Creek Court.
Olive and Fifi.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Bombay Food Junkies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Straight up, yeah, very much so.
And I also recommend just looking at recipes online and just trying to explore in your own kitchen. Making meals is so fun. And to know what you're putting in your body, you can actually see what you're putting in your body. It makes such a big difference. So I'm always an advocate of, cooking at home and eating at home and sharing recipes with my loved ones as well. But, those are my recommendations as far as restaurants.
Yeah, that was one thing. One thing I wanted to speak on as well. Alex had touched on it, and you had touched on it before as well. Once you do decide to go plant-based, when you guys do, you will find yourself actually cooking more, stepping your cooking game up, stepping your cooking level up.
Doesn't take a lot of time either.
Right. People get wrapped up into thinking they're gonna have to do so much preparation and all of this, that, and the other. It's just cooking.
Yeah.
It's just that's all it is. You go through preparation when you frying up chicken. Same thing, except you're not gonna do all of that preparation. But it's gonna, because like you said, like the main thing they say about soul food when they try to describe soul food, well, it's made with love. You see what I'm saying? But when you're making it yourself, as far as being plant-based, you know for a fact it's made with your own love, and it's seasoned to however you want it to be.
Yes.
And if you can't cook, you can't cook. But it's gonna make you step your cooking game up, because like you said, when you start, what I've learned from Marchette is the research aspect is trying to learn more about reading your labels.
Yes.
Learning more about different herbs. I thought I knew a lot about herbs, but learning some of the properties of the herbs and what they do for you. Because that's how, within myself, that's how osteoarthritis is being reversed through my diet and
eating a lot of foods that are good with inflammation.
Correct.
Yes.
Because I had to learn. Now I had, before I transitioned over, I had what I thought was a very open palate, which it was. I couldn't stand avocado because I didn't like the texture of it.
Yeah.
But I like mashed potatoes. See how stupid that sounds? How can you like mashed potatoes but you don't like avocado? It's dumb. So you have to teach yourself, to understand. I have to consume what is the best for me. I have to get away from wondering, or I'm sorry, get away from accepting things that are not good for my body. Why? Why am I eating this? For what? It doesn't serve me any good. It doesn't serve me any purpose. There's something at home that tastes better than everything in any fast food restaurant. That's how I had to look at it. Because now myself personally, I can tell that you're not personally just a regular big guy.
Yeah.
I got up to 262 pounds. This was like 20, 30 years ago, but I still got up to that much. Yeah, I was eating a lot, and eating whatever I wanted, but I wasn't eating. I was eating whatever I wanted. I was a big fat ass dude. No problems about it. I don't mind talking like that because I was.
Yeah.
Because when people hear me say that, I'm like, that is almost 300 pounds. Yeah. That's a big fat person. So it's not to shame anyone. I shame myself. But I had to get away from that because it's like, why invite health issues? especially within our community. And they're always, not always, but the precursor is always our diet. So I'm not going to invite that anymore. With that being said, and what we were talking about as far as cooking at home and home recipes, since this is our initial show, and we have been a little more structured than what I thought we were going to be, but what we're going to be doing on all of our shows, we're going to be always sharing recipes. And the Curly Vegan, my wonderful co-host, is going to be sharing, before we leave today, she's going to be sharing our recipe, or her recipe of the week. And we're going to give her the floor.
All right, so before I share my recipe, because you guys are vegan curious and you may be contemplating what's taking you over the edge, right, to get to that point. Just speaking to animal eaters, most of the 10 years I've been vegan, 3 things that they say that are preventing them from becoming vegan / plant-based is time, taste, and cost. We already touched on the taste. Yes, we already touched on the taste. Time, food prep.
Yes.
You can food prep in 30 minutes and have meals for the whole week. There's a couple of people that I follow on YouTube, the Vegan Gym. He has a lot of videos about food prepping, and he actually has a timer, and he sets the timer on the table, and he's preparing all these meals, like 3-4 days worth of meals in 30 minutes. Put them in containers, and so when he goes to work the next day, he just grabs it out of the refrigerator, and there you go. Time, as far as like just making things from scratch, I make almond milk. People may think it's a vigorous process, but you just soak the almonds overnight. Next morning, I get up and I put them in a blender and I blend it with some water and then run it through a cheesecloth, and it takes 5 minutes to make almond milk. So it doesn't take a lot of time, especially if your heart is in it. If your heart is in it, you're not going to be looking at the clock, first of all.
Right.
You're going to be having such a great time. Cost. McDonald's. I haven't been in a while, but I did go to get a Happy Meal for my granddaughter. And this was like last year. And I believe an extra value meal was like $8.
It's probably right
More,
there.
Yeah. Now we were just talking about terra tacos. I don't know how much the burrito was, but I'm sure it was probably around that same.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so big, you had enough to eat for later. You're not gonna have, you're gonna have a burger, fries, and the fries probably gonna be halfway cold, and a soft drink. So
It ain't
just,
good for you.
Yeah, just a comparison, like as far as cost, you can eat a plant-based diet and it's still affordable. You can buy a lot of things in bulk, like Whole Foods. They sell like rice and beans and nuts and seeds all in bulk. You can make a lot. I can make a meatloaf out of lentils. So the cost, you don't have to worry about that. So I just want to touch on that because I know a lot of times those are the 3 things that are keeping people from being vegan is time, taste, and cost.
Yeah.
Yes.
You definitely hit on them.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Now, I do have a recipe called General So Tofu. When I was eating animal meat, I used to love going to the Chinese restaurant and getting General So chicken. Probably 5 years on my vegan journey, I did come up with a recipe. It's tofu. You have to have extra firm tofu. Now, a little trick with tofu, when you buy it from the store, make sure it's extra firm, but don't stop there. You want to freeze it. Freeze it, and then when you thaw it out, the reason why you want to freeze it is because tofu absorbs a lot of water, and so because it's like a sponge. So if you don't prepare it the right way, it can really throw your recipe off because it's going to be watery and the consistency is just going to throw it off. So I normally freeze my tofu, and then I take a towel, I just press out the excess water. For this recipe, the General So sauce, if you want to make it from scratch, I'm going to give you the recipe. It's 3 tablespoons of tamari or soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of chili garlic sauce, 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. You're going to mix that together, set it to the side. You're going to chop up your tofu in little like 1-inch cubes, and then you're going to roll it in cornstarch. You can add some salt, pepper, whatever flavor you want to season you want to add to the tofu before you roll it in the cornstarch. And then you're going to fry it in either some grapeseed oil or avocado oil. That's called a neutral oil. The reason why you want to choose a neutral oil, I know you guys probably heard of like coconut oil or olive oil. Those two oils, they're great. But if you're wanting to fry something and keep it neutral, because if you fry it in coconut or olive oil, it's going to take on that taste because tofu absorbs everything. So you want to choose a neutral oil, like I said, grapeseed oil or avocado. If you don't have time to make the sauce from scratch, you can go to Trader Joe's and get their General Tso's sauce there. They sell it. It's really good. You could just chop up the tofu and after you fry it, you're gonna soak it in that sauce, and you can eat it with broccoli or rice. It's really good. Takes about preparation, I would say 30 minutes or less. All my recipes I prepare, I try to keep them under 30 minutes or less. I will post this recipe on our website, redblackandvegan.com, for those that are interested, as well as the Red, Black, and Vegan margarita recipe as well.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah,
It is so great. That is so great. And trust me, that food will be ready in 30 minutes. 'Cause I'm at home like, hey, I need that food right now. No, but this was a great experience and great episode. I want to thank Alex Hill III, my travel agent brother and mentor with this company and endeavor that I've just started going on. I want to thank you, Mrs. Erica Sanders
Absolutely.
and Caleb
Oh, Jackson.
Oh, I do
Oh,
have
yeah.
a question for Caleb, because I know your mom is, she's the vice president of the Big Brothers Big Sisters. So are you part of that organization as well?
I am not.
Okay.
I just.
Have you volunteered?
I've never volunteered either, so no.
Well, we
yeah.
need to change that,
That's
don't we?
true.
Not putting you on the
Yeah.
spot, but I would love to volunteer, so that'd be
Trust
great.
me,
Yes.
as a former, excuse me, as a former AAU coach,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm still a coach. I just don't have an official team. You won't believe the change that it will make in your life just working with kids, especially young boys.
Yeah.
I had boys who had two-parent families. I had boys who had single parent. I had boys who had living with their grandmother. But you just never know what anybody is going through.
Yeah.
The guy who was the worst player on my basketball team was one of the best players on my baseball team. But he had a father who was in jail. But his grandmother was active in his life. She was bringing him to all the practices and everything. So he just wanted to feel a part of something, which is what a lot of kids go through. They just want to feel like someone cares about me and my situation. It helps you so much as a man, whether you have children or not. Even if it's just one time, please, if you ever can. I know you got a lot of things you do with your job and everything, but if you don't have any children,
No.
just one day.
Yeah.
That's
I
all
will
it takes.
say this, that Caleb, so there are some general requirements that at first Caleb didn't meet, and that's
Okay, I
why he
understand.
hasn't, is not that he is
Oh, I
not,
understand.
because there's been times that he's like come to a tabling with me, which is tabling is just like me being out in community, passing out information, signing people up and things like that. He's definitely done that. He's definitely like shared the word of mouth, or if I
Oh,
put
that's
something
good.
on social
Yeah.
media. So all three of my children are
Oh, that's
super
great.
supportive in that way. My community in general is super supportive in their way. I think for me, one of the things that I really love is making sure that that choice is not made because of just what I do, but again, just understanding that you
Right.
know that you have the time to commit. I end up telling people a lot of times when they just say back to me like, really would want to do it, but right now it's not
a good
good for
time.
me. I said thank you, because what I wouldn't want them to do is start and stop, start and feel frustrated, start, get matched, and then have to step away from that child, because that does way more damage
Yeah.
than absolutely just kind of like acknowledging that this is not the
That's
right
true.
time.
That's
What
true.
I do think that helps me, that all of my children and all of my village do, and you all could do as well, and you're doing it right now, is the volume of just saying it and telling somebody and challenging somebody else, just like you did with Caleb. You don't have kids, you don't have this, you don't have that. You got some time that you can maybe share. That speaks volumes and spreads the message. I always tell people, your network has attachments to another network, and so on and so forth.
grows.
So if you have the opportunity to talk to 5 people, and they talk to 5 people, and they talk to
Exactly.
5 people,
Yes.
because we have a waiting list right now of like 500 kids waiting on a great mentor, right?
Oh, wow.
But when I think about the St. Louis community, and I just think of one business, we could wipe out that waiting list easily. Easily.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Thank you for that. And I know we're supposed to be concluding, but I have a segue on something you just said as well about if someone's not ready mentally or with time. It's kind of the same thing like when we try to advocate a plant-based lifestyle to our children or our loved ones. And I always tell Damon, like give them the information, but don't push them because they're not mentally prepared to. Because it's a big change. So I'm glad you said that because I educate people, I give them information, I make them feel empowered, I give them the resources they need. But if they're not here mentally to make that change, you just have to sit back and just be the example.
That's it.
I'm going to be the example. I'm almost 50. I'm not on any medication. I know people my age that are, and that's one thing that really why I wanted to change my life because my ex-husband, when she was my age, she had like 10 bottles of medication on her bedside, and she was taking these every night. And I remember in my 20s, I was like, there is no way I want to be like that ever. So I really started thinking about being healthy at a young age. So, we want to spread the word as well, but we don't want to be like a cult. And, as far as being veganism, we don't want to be like that, but we do want to spread the word and be the example and show people the benefits of having this lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like, no, I'm sorry, we rapping. But it's like all good things in my life. My faith being at the top, my family, those things that are my values. I find that all of them are not something that you have to force feed anyone. It's just what you said. I have to model what I want people to mirror.
Yes.
So that with loving kindness have I drawn thee, that's in everything that you do. And it is. I think that it is something, and again, shout out to some great people in my life that told me about just changing your language. I ask people to consider, sometimes when we're in conversation, Caleb and I advancing our communication, I say, as I'm listening, well, can I share something for you to consider? It's not, I don't want to go from a place of advice anymore. I just want you to consider something.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you have the choice.
Yeah.
You can either choose to consider it or you can choose not to.
Yeah.
And that's your choice.
Yeah.
But like you all said, my responsibility was to just put it out there.
Yes.
And that's the part that I own. I have to leave it at that point for you to take it to the next leg of it. You all and what you're doing right here is phenomenal because it can connect to so many things. Mentorship, so many other different things that it can connect to. But it's our responsibilities to get it here and then for them to pick it up. That's their wonderful journey.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Back to you, Damon. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Damon.
We threw him off.
We'll exchange numbers and keep going.
But I'm so glad that both of y'all said that as well, though. And looking forward to our next recipe of the week and drink of the week.
Yes.
We will be back in a couple of weeks. This is our initial episode, our plant-based celebration episode, which turned into a lot more than what we expected in this journey today. We had our vegan curious guests. We are so thankful that y'all came by and supported us today. Just give the people a chance to let them know where they can find you guys on social media. Caleb, you first.
You can find me on Instagram at madness_314. It rhymes. That's the only reason I chose it. But yeah, and thank you again for having us on here and just giving us the information because that changes my mindset. The teas that you told me about, I'm keeping that now inside my bank. Time, taste, all that. Just think about it. But thank you again.
Mom.
Well, I just had to look mine up because that's how old I am. But personally, you can find me at Mrs. E. Sanders on Instagram. But I encourage everybody that if I get to use this platform, go to Big Brothers Big Sisters. Find out more about the agency. That's where you can find me doing a lot of great things in community. And come and join us because there's so much that's going on. And we just want all of our city to be a part of being unified and supporting these young people.
You can find me on Instagram at Curly Vegan. I have recipes on there. They're old, but they're still good to this day. So go ahead, check it out. Curly Vegan on Instagram.
Curly Vegan with a K.
With a K. Thank you, baby.
And where else can they find you?
Oh, I thought I was going to leave that up to you, but okay. You can also find us on Instagram, Red, Black, and Vegan. Also, the Road Trippin' Vegans. You can also find us on YouTube, the Road Trippin' Vegans, and we have a website, redblackandvegan.com. And soon we're going to have another additional page added to that, Red, Black, and Vegan Travel, on that same website.
Love it. I just started following you.
There you have it.
Follow you
And
back.
that's going to conclude our plant-based celebration today. We're so thankful for anyone who joined in on Instagram. We have a lot of people who was checking in and out.
Nice.
I'm sorry that whoever that was that called in, they threw off the original live. But
Call us back in 2 weeks.
yeah, we definitely will be back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
The Hip Hop Vegan, Curly Vegan. Thank you so much.